Okay,
We are live now.
we are live and officially going to start our session for today, everyone. My name is Tayyaba Zulfiqar, and I am a country representative of Pakistan. And I'm so grateful to Maheen for bringing all of us together on this platform, Women Ascension, and empowering women in any and every way. And the best thing about that I like about this platform is that there is it's for everybody. So I watched this movie, Lilo and Stitch, in which they said Ohana means family where nobody gets left behind or forgotten. And this is exactly the tagline of this amazing platform. You just need to show your willingness. You don't even need to be an expert, and then Mahini is going to take care of everything. So if you guys ever have anything good to offer to the world, do reach out to her and she will make it possible times infinity. So, guys, I officially welcome you all to the virtual international conference series in partnership with Entrepreneurs Ecole, and we have our amazing guest today. The theme is climate justice, sustainable practices for a greener future. And this session is going to feature Nia Howard Fenton, an environmental and social justice advocate from New York, one of my favorite states. And fun fact, I can name all 50 states of USA. So she's from New York, who brings a powerful voice to the forefront of global climate action with a BS in environmental sciences from Brooklyn College, and as a Scumberg Center scholar, Nia explores the socio-economic impact of Caribbean migration to Harlem, shedding light on women's pivotal role in these movements. Her passion for climate resilience, especially in small island developing states like Antigua, drives her research and activism. She has contributed to policy and curriculum development for organizations such as New York Botanical Garden and Intersectional Environmentalists, advancing sustainability through a justice-oriented lens. Nia is currently hosting her first Climate Week event at DC Climate Week, where she's championing green job access for marginalized communities. She also merges advocacy with artistry through her work in sustainable fashion, supporting eco-conscious designers at New York Fashion Week. Oh my God, I am manifesting to go there. As a leader within the Antigua and Barbuda Progressive Society, she spearheads social media and membership initiatives and is creating a professional directory to empower Caribbean professionals globally. So with in this session, this event aligns with SDG 4, quality education, SDG 5, gender equality and decent work, economic growth, which is SDG 8, and SDG 9 and 10 and 13. And we are hoping to learn at this global celebration of women empowerment and leadership. I apologize if I butchered a couple of pronunciation. However, thank you so much, Nia, for being here. I'm so excited. We all are so excited to hear what you have to say, and over to you and all the best.
I'm so excited as well. Thank you so much for having me. Sorry about that. It looks like I'm having another difficulty. One more second. With the screen sharing. Oops. Are you able to see my screen?
We hopefully are hoping to see it in a couple of seconds.
Okay.
Yes, we are able to see it now.
All right. Yes, so thank you so much again for inviting me to this wonderful conference. I'm so grateful to be a part of today and be here with you all and hopefully meet some people and interact with others who are also interested in, the environment and learning more about the global world and what we can do to make it a better place. So today, I thought that I would really talk about place-based policy and designing climate solutions with our communities and rather than for them. So this is a conversation I've been wanting to have for a while, so I'm very excited again to be invited to the conference. I'll try to keep it brief. I'm known to ramble on, so please let me know if I'm going above time or anything. So I wanted to talk about how real climate solutions are really born within our communities and how these solutions can really be built from the ground up. So this talk is going to be about how the places that we call home, our neighborhoods, our islands, our countries, our green spaces, our community gardens, they really hold the solutions to what we're calling the climate crisis nowadays. And I'll be driving and from my experiences in my work in New York and in Antigua, which is located in the Caribbean, where I've seen firsthand how honoring, your community and your neighborhood can transform not only the policy, but also people's lives around in the community. So I want to begin by just saying that when we think about climate justice, we're not just thinking about reducing emissions or preserving ecosystems and marine lifestyles. We're also recognizing that the climate is also disproportionately affecting marginalized communities. So women, children, people of color, people in lower income countries that are not having access to the infrastructure and it's not being reinvested back into the community. So those who have historically contributed to the environmental degradation are bearing the impacts of this. And climate justice isn't just about the protection, but it's also about who we're protecting and who's making the decisions and who is benefiting from these solutions. And it means giving everybody a seat at the table to be a part of these conversations and trusting them to lead. So climate justice connects environmental issues to race, class, gender, geography, and power. So when we talk about climate justice, we're talking about power, people, place, and processes, and redistributing those power and those resources to people that historically are vulnerable or at risk. Like I mentioned before, youth, women, people who don't have access to things to remedy these climate issues. And they're not just people that are at risk. We need to start looking at them as historians and people who have knowledge of what has happened in the place as well. And very often their knowledge is undervalued or erased. So that's where my passion comes in, and the work that I do is trying to uplift those stories and really make those voices heard. And then there's process, and we need to have an inclusive process, having everybody at the table about these decisions that are being made. And so it's a result of systems like colonialism, racism, and economic inequality that have dictated who gets to have clean air and clean resources, who lives next to these toxic sites, and who gets funding for recovery, and which countries don't receive funding for different climate issues that they're, battling with, and who's left to fend for themselves when hurricanes and other natural disasters are happening, and which countries have more resources and which don't. So climate justice is also about empowering these communities to crafting solutions that are equitable, sustainable, and rooted in, again, the knowledge from these actual communities. So why place-based policies? Why am I talking about this today? So for me, I'm very interested in, thinking about the local culture, the history, and the geography when we think about these climate decisions and responding to the specific needs of a community, not, just getting a grant from someone or a college and doing some project that has no basis of the community that the project is actually being done in. It's about designing climate responses that are actually reflecting the culture of these specific communities. We've all seen policies pushed into communities without input from the actual community. Solar panels placed in areas where no one's able to maintain them, green projects that get funding and are built, but then those raise rent and displace citizens that were living there before, for people who want to pay more money, which we call gentrification in the US. And so policies that sound good on paper, but in real time are actually failing because we're not considering all of the factors of that community. So if we don't lead with the place where we are, we risk harming, the problems that we're coming there to solve. And so when we talk about justice, we're again talking about the community and developing collaboratively with these community members, not imposing from above, and to responding to environmental and social realities and realizing that realities one place are different than realities other places. We can't make cookie cutter policies and place them in every single area. We need to have specific policies based on, even as micro as specific neighborhoods will have different climate issues going on. So that's why we want to think about place-based policies, whereas generic climate policies often ignore these local realities. They can lead to, again, as I mentioned, displacement, what we call gentrification here, which is a big issue in a lot of the US failed projects, or a lack of trust with the government. And so what happens is community members then decide, we don't want to work with the scientists that we see coming into our community because we don't have trust, because in the past they've come in, done projects, got funding, and then there was no follow-up for the project. So that erases the people that are in the community, and it also erases the cultural and historical knowledge. So by doing place-based policy, we can, reinforce better dynamics between the government, whereas these are seen as very extractive dynamics between government and the people. So when we talk about why climate justice needs communities, again, we know that climate change affects everyone, but we also know that it doesn't affect everyone equally, the same way that a lot of issues affect people in different ways disproportionately. So frontline communities, small island nations, like the work that I do in the Caribbean, where there's a lot of lack of funding and a lot of climate issues going on. Low-income neighborhoods and other vulnerable areas that we're not able to separate the environment from racism and colonialism and what we've gone through in the past and what we're still going through today. So we have to see those interconnections. And so when we talk about why climate justice needs communities, we're also talking about who actually knows the communities the best, who's lived there, who's dealt with these hurricanes, who's had to board up their house and make remedies for these natural disasters. It's not the scientists that are coming in to do the data follow-up after the hurricane has happened. It's the people that are living in the neighborhood, who know, who have this knowledge of what can be remedied. So, research and policy, we need to have that reflecting lived experience. And something I'll get into in the next slide, see community-based participatory research, the acronym here on this slide is CPBR, builds trust, and that really gives us better outcomes. So when we look at these two models here, this is a model from the Vermont Public Health Institute from 2023, and which is showing how we really have to be identifying partnerships with the community, as well as when we look at policy and when we look at research and public health issues and the questions and so forth. So, and then on the right, I also wanted to pose some of these questions maybe at the end if we have some time. Which of these levels do you feel most connected to, and which do you feel least power over? And what happens when we ignore one of these layers when we think about climate solutions and moving forward? So again, this is where this sort of community-based research is really, really valuable, and that residents are thought of as co-researchers and collaborators, not just a statistic and a research paper later on or an interviewer. It really helps how we think about research and planning and those who are shaped by the actual problem. And again, this can help the trust really deepen with people that are seen as the researchers who come into these neighborhoods, and there is a lack of trust initially. And that's where the real work is done, when these two parties come together and start to think about what can be done. So an example here from my own work is Antigua in the Caribbean, where I'm currently doing research on one of my research passions. So they have something called a Sustainable Island Resource Framework Fund, which is a great example of what I'm talking about, place-based policies and really involving the community. So this specific program was spearheaded by the Adaptation Fund as well as the UN's environmental program. And so this is really, really a great program because it provides direct funding to local projects going on in the community. So local community members are able to apply for these fundings for different projects, for resilient housing projects to ensure that these people have durable homes. This all stemmed after a really bad hurricane in 2019. So this funding and this idea for this project really came out of that, to have sort of a national climate financing cushion so that the island was able to really sort of move forward with community-led projects. And this also is really a great way to empower local groups to take initiative and really take charge in streamlining these projects. And what sets this apart, the innovation in this project specifically, is blended finance. So this project, to tie it into, the whole point of this conference and why we're all here, is because women, and we're great and we're amazing. So this specific project is allocating at least 40% of their financial funds to women-led or women-inclusive projects that will be going on. So if you ever want to learn about any ideas for your own research or any just past, the UN is a great resource to go on and see that their projects that they're funding and the projects they've spearheaded. So where do we go from here? I will wrap up soon. I know I'm talking on and on, but so for me, the future of climate really lives again, and as I've been talking about, at the intersection of community and education. So when people are equipped with knowledge that's relevant to their lives, to their histories and their neighborhoods, that's when we really see the real change happening. So community-based climate work is already happening. It's been happening for a long time. I'm not the first one to talk about it for sure. It's been happening in gardens, in classrooms, in living rooms, at local gatherings where people are talking about planning. It's not always seen as the traditional activism as marching in the streets, as it's just as powerful, but that work has been being done for a while. And so we have to remember that these climate challenges and their solutions are relative, as I mentioned before. We cannot just place policies, thinking that, oh, one policy is going to be good enough for everyone in this one country. One policy is going to be good enough for everybody in this one state. We have to recognize that climate challenges and solutions are really, really relative to the issues that are going on, relative to the history that has taken place in that area specifically. That's something we don't think about enough in climate, I think, is how different portions of history can really affect what's going on today. And so then I always tell folks to find your niche as well. You don't have to to do everything. So when we talk about the future of climate justice, finding what you're really passionate about, even though we realize that everything in the environment, of course, intersects and everything is connected to the environment in some way or another. And so we really just need to realize that climate justice is a cultural shift, and education, especially community-led education and community projects, is how we got here in the first place and how we'll continue to, further along our work in this way. So if you are interested in becoming introduced into this work, or if you're already into this work and you're interested about talking more about specific research, I'm always happy to speak about, interesting things going on in the sustainability world. And I didn't really talk about that much about my own work, but I personally have worked with the New York Botanical Garden, doing work with their urban farm there and really fostering food sovereignty and how we can think about reclaiming our food, especially after COVID when food was very scarce here. I don't know about other places in the world, but we kind of had to rethink our way of framing food and sustenance and how we really sustain our bodies. So as we wrap things up, I just wanted everyone to have a few takeaways from my presentation. So first, remembering the power and community, and knowing, again, if you are interested in this work or any work, I think this is a good takeaway for anyone, just knowing the why and knowing why you got interested in this work, knowing why you want to continue, and knowing your purpose for doing this. Sometimes, especially in this field, the work can feel overwhelming and like things aren't going in a linear line of progress. But knowing, again, why you chose this and where your positionality with the environment really comes into this work. And again, remembering that everything is connected, thinking about things in a system way, everything in the environment is connected when it comes to challenges. And yeah, solutions that we build, they have to really be grounded. They must be rooted in real people and real communities, and not just in a boardroom of people writing a research grant. And they need to be inclusive policy co-creation models. So my last slide here is I just had another question to put out to the group is, what does climate leadership look like where you are or where you currently live? So that is my presentation, and thank you again for inviting me today.
Thank you so much for such a very precise, brief, and on-point presentation about how can we be climate change agents and how can we all make a difference. And the last question that you posed was, what does climate leadership look like in the place where we live? So, Nia, my question to you is that all the way from, USA, New York, presenting in Pakistan. This is your first time that you presented?
Oh, sorry. Do you just mind repeating that question?
Yes. So is this the first time you presented on a Pakistani platform?
It is, yes.
And how are you feeling right now with the amazing response that you got?
I'm reading them right now. I feel so overwhelmed by the responses, and thank you everyone I see some questions in here as well. What does climate leadership look like? Oh no, that was another one. What can individuals do to support climate justice in their community, which is a great question. So yes, thank you. These are some great comments.
So, in Pakistan, everybody is learning about how can they make a difference on the littlest level. Like, for example, people are recycling water bottles. They are not getting water from the plastic bottles. They're carrying their own water bottles and they're carrying their own tote bags. So, these are some little difference that they all are making, and I believe it adds up to a lot of bigger changes. So, what, like, any five suggestions that you would like, because most of them are students here and some of them are not really on a platform representing any platform. So what are a couple of things that you would like to add, like maybe suggest that we can add in our everyday life to minimize this effect of climate change?
Yes. I would say, well, first of all, I have some suggestions if you're interested in getting more involved in the work. Like you mentioned doing things like recycling, that's a great place to start. And you mentioned a lot of the participants are students. I always say if you are interested in this work, getting involved with your school is a really great place to start, seeing how you can make yourself visible and really finding the gaps that you're interested in this work. Um, Finding the specific problems in your neighborhood, first of all, and going from there and seeing what you're interested in. So let's say you're interested in air quality, for instance, and transportation and seeing how we can get greener buses on the street so that there's cleaner air for, let's say, I don't know, what's a city in Pakistan?
um Islamabad, Karachi,
Okay, we'll say to combat the poor air quality there. So
okay, Lahore.
if you're interested in that, I would suggest doing something like going to your college office and saying, hey, is there an existing newsletter that's already there? If not, maybe you can start your own. Social media is also a really big, that's like taking over the world now. Start recording yourself, talking about things that you're interested in. Walk around your neighborhood and, um, you know, display to the world what's going on there. A lot of the times, even in America, I see stuff sometimes on TikTok. I'm guilty of watching TikTok that I don't even know that's going on in the world because things aren't being reported on the news, and that's intentional. So I would say finding what you're really interested in and using your school specifically to go from there. You can always ask your school to pay for membership fees if you're interested in specific organizations or you're interested in becoming certified in something that has to do with sustainability or has to do with something else. Reach out to your school office and see if they'll pay for those membership fees. And you can put that on your resume and say, I'm a student, I'm a student learner with the one great one that I'm a part of and is the International Sustainability, oh my goodness, the ISSP, International Sustainability Society Professionals. So that's a really good one. And so finding things like that, and then as little things that you can do, of course, recycling, composting is a big one. So taking your actual food scraps and discarding of those in a separately closed container, and you can use that compost later to do your planting with, and that will be very nutrient rich for your soil. Doing things like educating people in your own life, something as even if you view something as small as that, talking to your friends about what's going on in the world. You never know the impact that that one small thing could have on someone else. That might push your friend to start reading about, hey, what is going on in this city that we live in, related to the air quality, and that might push that person to then go study that in school, and that might lead to them getting a degree in that. So you never know what talking about what you're interested can also lead to. So I would say finding internships and fellowships early on as well. Getting that experience is really important to get your foot in the door, because I will be honest, this is a pretty tough field to get into for a lot of reasons, and I think that's intentional as well. It's becoming a more inclusive field, but So really just finding what you're interested in and focusing on how you can transfer the skills that you already have to, as I mentioned, the environment intersects into everything. So anything you're interested in can be related to the environment and how we think about the environment. And really just building your own path from there. If you don't see something, then do it, make it, create it. If you don't see something in your school, if you want to start a green club, if you want to start a club that, I don't know, takes kids out on nature walks and talks about something else like sustainable transportation, or maybe you're interested in sustainable fashion and you want to do that. Maybe you want to invite speakers to your school and hold a conference there. You know, really just thinking of ways to make yourself visible and putting yourself out there around this work, I think is really important, because when you make yourself known, people seem to just gravitate toward the work that you're doing, and you can tell when someone is passionate about the work, you know? So doing everyday little things like that. Recycling, as you mentioned, is a great one. Again, composting is another one. Talking to people about these issues, getting involved yourself in these issues, seeing how you can, maybe there's something going on, like a bill being passed in your government related to something around the environment, calling those representatives. And you don't have to be out on the street protesting with the sign, but there's other ways that you can make your voice heard. So that would be my advice for anyone who's interested. And again, I will share my LinkedIn again. If anyone is interested in connecting, I can give you more specific advice based on what you're interested in. So
Thank you so much, Nia. I have sent you a connection request, by the way. My name is Tayyaba. Please accept it. And
yes,
then we can, collaborate in future.
yes,
So we have received a lot of questions, and Nia has been kind enough in answering all of them. So it all comes down to, how we are able to expand our aura. And you don't need to wear a cape in order to be climate change agent. You just need to do your small bits. And, the fact that social media is your biggest superpower these days, you can easily reach out to authorities. And always remember, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So, you need to put yourself out there. I, as a teacher, never let go of any opportunity to make my class, give them curriculum on how they can be environmental friendly and how they can, minimize the effect of climate change. And we have, Nia has shared her LinkedIn. Please do connect with her. And Fahmina, do we have another speaker for today? Jannat, I believe.
Yes, Ms. Janice is going to talk. I think she's ready.
Right. So, everybody, we are now going to invite Jannat Ahmed. She is one of my favorite humans on earth, the most amazing, kindest, inspiring student ever. And she is going to enlighten us with her thoughts today. So, over to Jannat.
Thank you so much, Ms. Taiba, for this warm introduction. Thank you so much. So I would like to share my presentation with everyone. And so let's start. Hello everyone. I am Jannat Ahmed, and I'm currently serving as Human Resource Head at Women Ascension. Even though I'm not a climate justice advocate, just like Ms. Nia, I deeply believe that rising global issues related to climate, it's integral for all of us to, understand this topic and recognize our role in addressing it. So, that the theme today, that is climate justice, sustainable practices for a greener future. It holds a lot of significance. While it wasn't a topic that I had deeply explored before, the more I researched, the more I understood its profound, significance, and I realized that climate justice is not an environmental issue; it's a human issue. It's about fairness, it's about ensure that no community and no individual is left behind in the fight against climate change. So, okay. So let's begin with what climate justice actually is. Ms. Mia has already talked about it in detail, so I'm just going to iterate the idea. So basically, climate justice is the idea that, and it's the idea that holds the concept that the benefits of healthy environment as well as the burdens of a climate change must be distributed fairly among all. And right now, currently, they are not. Because some people live with clean air, they have access to clean water, and they are protected from floods and heat waves, while others they bear the brunt of pollution, disasters, and also displacement. So climate justice calls for fairness of social, economic, and environmental factors. It ensures that everyone, regardless of where they live or their background or their ethnicity, they have the right to live and explore the livable this earth that is given to us. So, uh, so why environmental justice matters? It matters because marginalized communities, especially low income and indigenous and minority groups or countries, they are mostly affected by the climate change. Yet they are the ones who are least responsible for causing it. And they tend to live in the area that are highly populated. They have fewer resources to adapt, and they are often excluded from climate related decision making as well. So climate change is not just an environmental issue, it's a justice issue, and climate justice is the concept that reiterates this concept. And to solve climate change, we must also address social and racial inequalities, just as Ms. Mia has addressed before. That because climate action without justice is incomplete. So we are living through, we are living through climate crisis. Global temperatures are rising, and with each fraction of a degree, the impact becomes even more dangerous to all of us. The populations in South Asia, Africa, and those living in island nations, they face intense floodings, extreme heat waves, and displacement. For example, the floods in South Asia in 2020 displaced over 12 million people, many of whom who had no support system to fall back on. And the UN Refugee Agency has recently reported that hazards resulting from increasing intensity and the frequency of extreme weather events, which involve abnormally heavy rainfall, prolonged droughts, desertification, environmental degradation, and the sea level rise are already causing an average of more than 20 million people to leave their homes and move to other areas in their countries, and with no support to health, no support to education, and no support to professional careers. So these realities and these numbers show that how climate change is affecting all of us, but then again, it is not affecting all of us equally. And that is why climate justice or just justice is the center of the solution for our climate change. So let's talk about how we can respond to it. So there are a few key pillars of sustainable practices. First, it's reducing fossil fuel use, by shifting towards renewable sources. Second is sustainable agriculture that protects lands and it reduces emissions. And the third is circular economy models. And that's about reducing waste and reusing the material. And these practices are not just environmentally smart, they are socially just when implemented with community empowerment and access in mind. So let's talk about how we can how we can implement and practice climate justice in everyday life. So be energy conscious. Okay, I know most of you know about these practices, but believe me, start practicing them as well. Because if you won't indulge in these activities, you won't be able to contribute to climate change and climate justice. So be energy conscious, switch off lights and appliances when not in use, opt for energy efficient LED bulbs, and also support renewable energy providers if possible. Choose sustainable transport, walk, cycle, or carpool when you can. Also, use public transport to reduce carbon footprint. Advocate for better transit options in your community and reduce waste and reuse more. Say no to single use plastics, reuse containers, bags, and clothing, and compost food waste if possible. And educate and advocate as well. Talk about climate justice with friends and family. Use your social media, use your voice on social media, join or support climate initiatives, and also volunteer or collaborate with climate groups or NGOs. Join or initiate cleanup drives or tree planting campaigns, volunteer with NGOs working on climate justice. And, this is where I come in, not as a climate expert, but as someone who is representing an organization that committed to, building a better world. So, Women Ascension is a global movement that empowers women and youth to drive change aligned with SDGs, including climate action. So, we are actively looking for collaborators, youth leaders, educators, or community builders who are passionate about sustainability and equity. So, if you want to co create climate solutions and make a difference partnership, we would love to work with you. And as I close, I leave you with this thought that fight for climate justice is not just for scientists or policymakers, it's for all of us. We need to embrace cleaner practices in our lives, uh, push for policies that prioritize equity and work collectively because climate justice equals to human justice. So let's strive for a world that's cleaner, that's fairer, and it's more inclusive. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Let's strive for a planet that is cleaner and more inclusive. Couldn't have ended in a better way. I mean, amazing. I would love for you to share the site with me so that I can copy paste them. They're so amazing.
Sure.
Even I couldn't come up with that. So, Jannat, how are you feeling after presenting? I always ask all the presenters, because they need to share their feelings and
I I feel much better. I I'm usually a very nervous person, and before having or engaging in any speaking engagements, I'm really nervous. Given that I am not, an expert in this area, but I still wanted to contribute to this topic. I was really nervous about my performance, and I think I did quite well. So I am feeling quite good.
amazing, amazing, Jannat. You were amazing. I love, since I have the attention of a goldfish, so I love a short, precise, to the point presentation like Nia and Jannat did. And I believe it's all because of Maheen, who has this amazing platform, and she's always there for you. She's always encouraging everyone. So if any one of you has any ideas, please reach out to her. And I believe let's selectively give, any emoji that you feel for Nia, Maheen, and Jannat. So I'm going to give a heart because love the whole presentation. And what are your feelings about today's session? Please let us know in an emoji form. So if you guys could, okay, so something is happening in the chat box. Let me see. Great session. Thank you so much, everybody, for such an amazing. And I think now we can take a group picture. So I would request all of you to please turn your cameras on for like 2 seconds because it's very important that we put ourselves out there and we throw this question on our social media as well, that how can we become a change agent? So if you could turn your cameras on, we can take a group picture. Thank you so much for those who have turned their cameras on. Madiha, she looks amazing. I think she's from Mars. Margaret, if that's how you pronounce your name, you look great. Hello. Laibanur, Miss Nasser. Okay, how do you pronounce it? Y Cliff Femmug. Okay, guys, come on, you can do this. Let's turn our cameras on and let's take a nice picture.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zargona. Okay. So I guess let's take a picture. 1, 2, 3. Tahmira, you can also take a screenshot if you wish. Jannat, you can also do that. I'm also doing it. So let me fix the frame. Okay. I'm going to capture it in 3, 2, 1. Okay, I think. Okay, done. I'm done from my side. The rest of you can also take a picture. All right. So I will be sharing the screenshot in the chat, and those of you turned the cameras on, thank you so much. That was awesome. So guys, basically today it was all about how we can make a difference on micro level and how each and every one of us starting right now can make this place a better place because like Jannat and Nia said, there is no planet B, and the service that we do is the rent that we place for our room in this world. So thank you so much, amazing people, for this amazing talk. And I would like to hand over this session to Tehmina now, while you guys can mention in the chat, how did you like the session? And please don't forget to share on LinkedIn, how did you like the session? What was the key point so that, we can start this conversation on an international platform as well. Tehmina, over to you.
Thank you so much, Miss Taiba and Miss
Yes.
Nia. So yeah, I think we are in the end of the sessions. Today our session was too short because we had one key speaker, and also a support speaker, Miss Jannat and Miss Nia. And also, thank you so much, Miss Taiba, as a moderator. You are always doing great. Like, whenever I'm in your sessions, you're moderating really good. Like, besides that, we are learning something. We are also enjoying with the exciting questions that you asked for us, especially the last session that you were talking about the foods. I really, really love the sessions. So I think we are in the end of the session. So, Miss Taiba, I think you can end it.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Hoping to connect with you further on LinkedIn. This just doesn't end here. We're having more exciting sessions, speaker sessions, conversations. So we are hoping that all of you engage in it. Thank you again. Have a great day, whatever time that you're in. Have a great morning, evening, night, and see you guys soon. Allah Hafiz. Goodbye. Khuda Hafiz.
Bye bye.
Etc.
Take care.
I did just have a quick question about how I'm able to find the recorded version. Oh,
It's on
Oh,
YouTube.
Miss,
Even
yeah. Miss Neha, we
um,
are going to post the record on YouTube. It's already on YouTube because when we end the live, it's going to be on YouTube, and we're also going to uh, put it on our LinkedIn and Facebook. You can find it there,
okay.
and if not, I will send you the link. No worries.
Thank you so much. Thank you
No
again.
worries. Thank you.
thank you so much, Miss Nia, for joining us.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. And thank you to all the participants who regularly and actively engaged in all of the sessions in the six series session of the six series conference. So I am really thankful to all of you uh, for joining us every day and staying and engaging with everyone. So thank you so much.